Chosen one, open your heart. This is not an accident. Right now, heaven itself is leaning in to acknowledge you. The season of silence, the stretch of testing, the years where nothing seemed to move, they were never wasted. You have passed through a fire that would have destroyed others, but it has not destroyed you. Instead, it has purified you. There were moments you thought, maybe I failed. Maybe God has forgotten me. Yet look at you, you are still here. Your spirit still reaches upward. That alone is the sign you did not break. This moment you feel now. This strange stirring, as though eternity has brushed against your skin, is heaven's recognition. You are being told, I see you. I tested you. You have endured. Alman, imagine a tree standing through 4 harsh winters. Snow weighs it down. Winds bend it. Storms strip its branches bare. To any passerby, it looks lifeless. Yet, deep in the roots, unseen by eyes, life is preserved. Then, spring comes. Buds burst. Blossoms appear. And suddenly, everyone sees what the tree carried all along. That tree is you. You looked barren to the world, but life was hidden within, waiting for this season. I recall the story of a young man who served faithfully while doors stayed locked for years. Every application denied, every plan delayed. People mocked his faith, calling him unrealistic. But one day, without warning, a door opened that he had not even knocked on. Looking back, he realized those years were a furnace of character. They proved he could be trusted. The same is true of you. The waiting was not punishment. It was God's preparation. The ancient words recorded in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9. Thunder with truth. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Strength and courage. These are not just encouragements. They are commands. You are not given permission to collapse under the weight. You are commanded to rise. Because the presence of God Himself is your guarantee. Discouragement was the test, but courage is the proof you have passed. Chosen one. Recognize this. You are standing on the threshold. For years it felt as if your prayers fell into an empty sky. But now heaven responds. What looked like rejection was divine redirection. What felt like loss was pruning. You are entering recognition. And with it, revelation. Think of a diamond in darkness, pressed under earth, crushed by pressure, unseen for centuries. Yet when uncovered and placed in light, it radiates brilliance no one imagined. That brilliance was always inside, but the pressure was the only way it could form. This is what God has done in you. You shine because you endured. Now the Spirit says, step forward. Do not dwell on yesterday's wounds. Do not shrink back from tomorrow's call. This is the moment where your spirit must answer the voice of God with boldness. If this word ignites something inside you, let it overflow. Share this message so another soul may know they too are not forgotten. Leave your response in the comments. Let heaven see your agreement. Subscribe so you never drift from the stream of messages destined for you. And as a prophetic sign, type the number 111 below. It is a declaration that one season ends and another begins. It is heaven's reminder, you have passed, You are chosen, and your new chapter is opening now. Do not underestimate the power of this moment. You may think, it's just words on a screen. But in the spirit, it is far more. It is a divine summons. The same God who called Moses from a burning bush, the same God who whispered to Samuel in the night, is the same God tugging at your heart now. His way of speaking may look different in your life, but his voice carries the same weight of eternity. Chosen one. Heaven is not waiting for you to be perfect. It is waiting for you to be willing. Your test has proven your willingness, and willingness is what God can multiply. A small yes from you becomes a mountain-shaking move in the spirit. What felt insignificant in your past, every prayer whispered, every act of kindness unseen was a seed, and those seeds are about to break the ground. So, step forward without hesitation. This is not the time for shrinking back. Lift your head, steady your heart, and know, the same hand that tested you is now the hand preparing to bless you beyond measure. You carried a weight others could not see. To the outside world, your smile seemed intact, your routine unchanged. Yet beneath the surface, battles raged within you. Sleepless nights where thoughts pressed heavy. Mornings where your body rose, but your spirit longed to collapse again. Few knew the storm beneath your calm, but heaven knew. Every hidden burden was recorded, every silent prayer treasured, every tear placed in the bottle of God's remembrance. There were days when even breathing felt like labor. You carried disappointments that crushed your chest, responsibilities that pressed down like stone, and losses that carved hollows inside your soul. Yet, through it all, you moved forward, step after step. Even if your pace was slow, you did not quit. That was the test. The weight was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to prove the strength within you that only God could see. Think of a runner carrying a weighted pack. At first, the weight feels unbearable, slowing every stride, draining every ounce of energy. But when the pack is removed, the runner realizes they can sprint faster than ever before. That is what the weight of your trials has been doing. It built endurance you never knew you had. Soon, you will move with a freedom you could not have imagined before the weight was laid on your shoulders. You often wondered why the load seemed heavier for you than for others, while others seemed to glide through life, doors opening easily for them. You struggled through locked gates and uphill climbs, but the Father chose you for something greater. He knew what you could carry, and He trusted you with it. The heavier the weight, the stronger the vessel becomes when it refuses to break. I remember the account of Job, a man crushed under unthinkable burdens. His losses piled one upon another until it seemed unbearable. Friends accused him. His body suffered. His soul groaned. And yet, though questions tormented him, though confusion burned, he clung to God. In the end, his story became a testimony that shook generations. Like Job, your endurance under crushing weight has become proof not just for you, but for others who will one day look to your story as their hope. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 31, verse 25. I will refresh the weary and satisfy the faint. This is the promise that hovers over you now. The weight has not gone unnoticed. God Himself has marked the exact moment when refreshment will come. You were never meant to carry this forever. You were meant to carry it until the refining was complete. That season is reaching its end. Think of an eagle climbing into the sky with prey clutched in its talons. The prey struggles, writhes, fights against the grip, but the eagle climbs higher and higher until the air thins. And only the eagle can survive that altitude. This is what has happened with the weight you bore. It dragged. It fought. It made every step harder. But by holding it in faith, you were lifted higher into altitudes where only the chosen can breathe. Your story is not of collapse, but of resilience. The world did not see the full battle, but heaven applauded each time you whispered, "I will not give up." Each moment you carried pain without bitterness, loss without despair, responsibility without running away. You were passing the test. The weight you carried was not wasted, for it has carved depths in your soul where God's glory can now dwell. Do not despise those heavy seasons. They have become part of your crown. The scars you bear are not marks of defeat, they are proof of victory. And the strength forged in those hidden battles will carry you into assignments far greater than what you can imagine. The weight you carried was real, but it was never random. It was tailored to your calling, designed to shape the warrior, the intercessor, the leader, the light bearer you now are. Heaven smiles upon you, not because you carried it perfectly, but because you carried it faithfully. And now the Lord whispers, "Lay it down." The season of weight is shifting into a season of renewal. You have been tested, and you have been found faithful. Even in moments you stumbled, you rose again. That rising, more than anything else, was the evidence heaven desired. The test was not about perfection, but perseverance. Now, the air around you shifts. The Lord who watched in silence prepares to speak loudly over your life. What was once heavy on your shoulders is about to become the very testimony that carries others into freedom. You did not choose separation, God chose it for you. There were seasons when friends drifted, relationships crumbled, and circles you once belonged to suddenly closed their doors. You wondered why rejection came like waves, why silence replaced companionship, why rooms once familiar began to feel foreign. It was not punishment, it was separation. Heaven was removing you from the noise of the crowd so that your spirit could learn to recognize His voice without distraction. Separation has always been part of the story of the chosen. Abraham was called to leave his father's house. Moses was drawn into the wilderness. David was pulled from the fields of obscurity. And even Jesus often withdrew to lonely places to pray. What felt like abandonment was alignment. You were not cast aside, you were set apart. Imagine a violin string pulled tighter and tighter. To the one who feels the tension, it seems unbearable. Yet only under tension can the string produce music. The tighter the pull, the clearer the song. This is what separation has done to you. The loneliness stretched you. But now your life will produce a melody that others cannot imitate. There was once a young woman marked by God, and she lived through a season where every friendship dissolved. She cried herself to sleep, believing she was unloved. Yet in that quiet, she discovered a depth of prayer she never would have found in company. Years later, she became a voice of comfort for others walking through loneliness. Her story is your mirror. What feels like loss is actually the making of your ministry. According to what is revealed in the book of Hosea, chapter 2, verse 14, "Therefore, I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her." Me. Do you see it? The wilderness is not a place of punishment, but the place where tender words are spoken in your separation. God's whisper became clearer. In your wilderness, His presence became undeniable. What you called emptiness, He called intimacy. Chosen one, embrace this truth. The very moments you thought you were forgotten were the moments heaven was drawing nearest. Separation has not diminished you, it has distinguished you. You are not like the rest, because your crown was never meant for the crowd. So when the silence comes again, do not panic. When people drift, do not cling. When doors close, do not mourn. For separation is the evidence of destiny. You were never designed to blend in. You were crafted to stand apart. Now let your spirit mark this moment. In the comments, write just 3 words, I am set. By writing it, you declare with faith that what once felt like rejection is in truth God's redirection. You are set apart. You are set above. And you are set for a future only He can open. Separation is never comfortable. It feels like losing pieces of yourself. But the truth is, what fell away was never strong enough to carry you where God was sending you. If you had kept the same friendships, the same habits, the same environments, they would have diluted your anointing. God loved you too much to let that happen. That's why He cut you away from certain things. It was mercy disguised as loneliness. Think of a gardener who prunes a tree. The cutting looks cruel. The branches fall lifeless to the ground, and the tree looks bare. But the gardener knows that pruning is the only way the tree will bear more fruit. You were pruned, not abandoned. Every no you faced was an unseen yes to your future fruitfulness. The pain of pruning is temporary, but the harvest lasts a lifetime. When you look back on those moments of separation, you will see patterns you missed before. Every time a door closed, a new one opened later. Every time a person left, space was made for someone better to enter. Every time a crowd dispersed, God's voice became Lude. These patterns were not coincidences. They were evidence that heaven had you on a precise course. Now you can see the truth more clearly. Separation was the test, and you passed. You did not run back to the crowd. You did not dilute yourself to fit in again. Instead, you allowed the silence to shape you. That choice has marked you as one set apart for glory. So when you write, I am set, let those words be more than a comment. Let them be a declaration that you understand the season. You are set apart, not by chance, but by design. And soon, what once felt like wilderness will become the very platform of your testimony. The refining fire, this is the phrase heaven whispers over your life when you look back at the trials you have endured. Fire is never comfortable. It burns. It consumes. It tests the limits of what can survive in its heat. Yet when the smoke clears, only what is pure remains. This is what your journey has been, not punishment, but purification. You have walked through flames that others could not endure, and you emerged stronger because of it. Fire has always been God's chosen tool for shaping His people. The prophet Malachi spoke of God as a refiner's fire, purifying silver until it gleams. Silver is heated until the impurities rise to the surface, and the refiner never removes it from the flame until he sees his reflection shining back. That is what has been happening in your life. You were held in the fire until the image of the refiner began to appear within you. At times, You questioned the purpose. Why me? Why so much suffering? Why do the flames never seem to relent? Yet it was in those very flames that your character was being forged. Like clay in the kiln, you could not be hardened into strength without passing through the heat. Without fire, clay remains fragile and easily broken, but with fire, it becomes a vessel strong enough to carry water, to endure, use, to serve a purpose greater than itself. Think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, standing inside the furnace built to destroy them. The flames were so fierce that even the guards outside were consumed. Yet inside the fire they discovered a mystery. They were not alone. A fourth figure walked among them, shining with divine presence. That same reality has been true for you, even in the hottest flames. You were never abandoned. The very presence of God drew closer in your fiery seasons, proving that the fire could not consume what he protected. The ancient words recorded in the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 9, still echo today. This third I will put into the fire. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. Note, you see, fire was not random, it was chosen. And you were not destroyed by it, you were refined by it. Each prayer whispered in the fire became fuel for transformation. Each tear that fell in the heat became proof that the refiner was near. And now, as you stand on the other side, you carry a depth and strength that can only come from walking through flames. Imagine a sword lying cold and unshaped in the hands of a blacksmith. It is thrust into the fire, hammered on the anvil, plunged into water, and then back into fire again. The process seems harsh, endless, exhausting, but only through that cycle does the sword gain its strength. Without it, it would remain nothing but a lump of metal, dull and weak. This is why your life has known cycles of fire, because you were never meant to remain unshaped metal. You were always destined to become a weapon in the hands of the Almighty. The fire stripped away illusions. It exposed what was fragile, burned off what was false, and left behind only what was unshakable. You are no longer defined by the temporary attachments that once clung to you. The fire burned those away. What remains is your essence purified faith, tested endurance, a heart that knows God is faithful even in the furnace. Others may look at you and see only the surface, but heaven sees the gold within, and that gold shines brighter precisely because of the trials. Every scar you carry is not a mark of defeat, but a seal of authenticity. You are one who has passed through fire and yet lives to tell the story. Do not despise the flames. They were the very evidence of your chosenness. God does not waste fire on those who have no purpose. He reserves the furnace for those he intends to use in extraordinary ways. If you have felt the burn, it is because you were marked for more. And now, the refining fire has done its work. You are stepping into a new reality, not fragile, not unfinished, but strong, resilient, and ready. The flames were never meant to destroy you. They were always meant to reveal you. The smoke has lifted, and you stand as proof that fire purifies, but does not consume the chosen. Where others saw ashes, God saw gold. Where you felt loss, heaven saw preparation. Now every step you take carries the weight of one who has been tested and found true. There comes a time when the silence of heaven breaks into the melody of destiny, and this is that moment for you. For years, The voice of God seemed distant, as if hidden behind clouds. Yet now the whisper becomes clear. You are stepping into the season of instruction. You passed the wilderness test. You survived the refining fire. And now comes the voice that reveals what lies ahead. God's voice does not always thunder with lightning. Often, it comes like a gentle breeze brushing against your spirit. The prophet Elijah discovered this when he stood on the mountain. Wind came, earthquake came, fire came. But the Lord was not in those. Then came a still small voice. And Elijah knew, this is him. That same still small voice now leans into your life, ready to guide you. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 21. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you, saying, this is the way, walk in it. Empis. This voice is not vague. It is precise. It cuts through confusion and shows you steps you did not see before. Where once you stumbled in fog, now clarity unfolds. Heaven speaks, not to overwhelm, but to direct. You are not left to wander. You are guided by the one who knows every path, every season, every ending before the beginning. Imagine a ship sailing in open seas. Clouds obscure the stars. Waves toss the deck, and the crew feels lost. Then suddenly, a lighthouse beam pierces the darkness. Steady, unmoving, a signal of safety. That lighthouse is the voice of God in your life. You may not always see the shore, but the beam keeps you aligned with destiny. And here, chosen one, is where you begin to respond, not by rushing, not by forcing, but by listening. Each word you sense from him in this hour is like a seed. When planted in obedience, that seed will grow into harvests beyond what you imagine. As you listen to these words now, I want to pause and speak plainly. This channel, these messages, exist to keep that lighthouse shining for many souls like you. If the voice of God through this work has stirred your heart, then I ask you to consider supporting, not as an obligation, not as a price, but as a seed of gratitude. Think of it like water poured into a well. When you pour in, it does not disappear. It deepens the reservoir, so that more water may rise to refresh the thirsty. Every share, every like, every subscription keeps the flow alive. And if God stirs you to go further, to give, then understand this: your gift is not lost. It becomes part of the living stream that reaches countless others sitting in silence, waiting for a word of hope. I am not here to force your hand. The kingdom of God has never been built by coercion. It is always built by willing hearts. Just as you were separated willingly, just as you endured willingly, so too should any act of support flow from willingness. If your heart feels moved, then let your act become a prophetic echo. I choose to keep the light burning for others. Picture a lantern in the night. The flame flickers inside, glowing with warmth. One person adds a drop of oil, then another adds theirs, and another. Soon, what was a small flame becomes a blaze that can guide many. That is what happens when you choose to support, not for me, not even just for you, but for all the unseen souls who will one day find light in this voice. Think of a river flowing through dry land. When one person cups their hands and pours back even a little water, the stream grows stronger. carving a deeper channel that can nourish countless lives downstream. That is what happens when you like, share, or subscribe. Your act keeps the stream of living words flowing further than you can see. And if your heart is stirred to go deeper, let your offering be like placing a stone into the foundation of a cathedral. No single stone builds it, but together they form a house of light where generations can find shelter. That is the power of a donation, not payment, not obligation, but a brick of faith laid in love. So let your heart guide you freely. Like, share, subscribe, or donate as the Spirit leads. Not out of pressure, but as an overflow of joy. In doing so, you are not just supporting a message, you are joining in building a lighthouse that will keep shining for souls still lost at sea. Never forget, heaven's voice is not finished. You are still in the unfolding. More will be revealed, and greater clarity will come. But today, pause and let this truth sink into you. God is speaking. He is not far. He is near. His voice is your compass, your lighthouse, your whisper in the night. The signs of heaven are never random. For everything God does in your life, there is a mark, a confirmation, a prophetic signal that lets you know you are aligned with His timing. This is not superstition. This is not coincidence. It is the language of heaven breaking into the patterns of your everyday world. Chosen one, you have come into the season where even numbers carry weight, and the appearance of a sign is no longer hidden. It is declared openly before you. When you reflect on your journey, you will see that God has always sent confirmation. Sometimes it was through a word spoken by a stranger, sometimes a dream that lingered after you woke, sometimes a scripture that leapt alive in your spirit. And now, even in numbers, God is speaking. He uses them not as fortune, but as alignment. Every digit carries rhythm. Every pattern whispers a truth. Heaven is teaching you to notice. Imagine a shepherd who leaves marks along the path so that his flock does not wander. Each mark is simple, maybe just a scratch on stone or a bent branch along the way. To others, they look meaningless, but to the sheep, they are signals of safety, reminders that they are not lost. This is what prophetic numbers are for you. To someone else, they may be just digits on a clock, but to you, they are reminders you are not lost. You are in step with heaven. You may recall a time you kept seeing the same number again and again, wondering why it seemed to follow you. It was not chance. It was not random. It was God whispering, "I am here. Pay attention." The way He used a burning bush for Moses, the way He used a fleece for Gideon, the way He used stars for Abraham, so too He can use numbers as confirmation for you. The ancient words in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 9, declare, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." This is the truth hidden inside prophetic numbers. They are not for you to plan around, but to recognize how God is already ordering your steps. You thought you were wandering, but every step was being established. The number that keeps appearing to you is not meant to control your path. It is meant to remind you of who controls it. Think of a compass needle. It spins until it aligns with the pull of the earth, always pointing north. To anyone else, it may seem like just a twitch of metal, but to the traveler, it means everything. It gives direction, stability, confidence, That is what heaven's sign is doing for you. It is a compass needle, pointing you back to the truth that you are aligned with God's design. And now, chosen one, let this moment be marked. As you hear these words, heaven invites you to participate, not by chance, not by ritual, but by faith. Let your declaration be simple yet prophetic. In the comments, type the number 444. Why 444? Because it is a triple confirmation of foundation, stability, and divine order. 4 corners form the earth. 4 winds cover the heavens. 4 living creatures surround the throne. When you write 444, you are declaring, my life is established, my steps are ordered, and my foundation is secure in God. This is not a superstition. It is a prophetic act. When you type 444, you are not manipulating heaven. You are aligning your heart. You are choosing to agree that your path is not in your own hands, but in His. It is like placing a flag in the ground and saying, this belongs to God. This moment is holy. And let the number remind you of something deeper. You are not wandering. You are walking in divine rhythm. The wilderness had a path. The fire had a purpose. And even now, your tomorrow already has an order set by heaven. Nothing about your life is random, not even the numbers that follow you. When others laugh and dismiss these signs as nothing, you will know better. You will recognize them as gentle taps on the shoulder from your Father. Reminders that you are seen, you are guided, and you are loved. The same God who numbers the stars and calls them each by name has not forgotten to number your steps. So pay attention. Listen. Watch. For heaven is speaking in ways you did not expect. And when you see the sign, do not ignore it. Respond with faith. Just as you have now. Your recognition is the doorway to revelation. And revelation is the proof that your alignment is real. There is a shift that happens when you finally recognize who you are in the sight of God. You move from simply surviving the storm to realizing you carry authority in the storm. This authority is not arrogance, nor is it something earned through titles or recognition from people. It is the mantle that rests on those who have endured, obeyed, and remained faithful when quitting would have been easier. Chosen one. You are now stepping into the unveiling of that authority. Authority in the kingdom of God does not look like the authority of the world. In the world, power is measured by how loudly someone can command or how many follow their words. In the kingdom, authority is proven in silence, by the way. Atmospheres shift when you enter. By the way, darkness trembles when you pray. By the way, peace fills a room. When you speak blessing, you may not even fully see it yet, but your presence already disrupts plans of the enemy. Think of a torch carried into a cave. The torch itself is small, fragile, even. But once it is lit, the darkness cannot argue with its existence. The torch does not shout, "I am here." Its light itself makes the declaration, "That is you." Your authority is not found in noise, but in light. Wherever you walk, something changes, not because of who you are in the natural, but because of who walks with you in the Spirit. Consider the disciples of Jesus. They were fishermen, tax collectors, ordinary men with little influence in society. Yet when they carried the authority of the Spirit, the sick were healed by their prayers. Demons fled at their words. Entire cities were stirred at their presence. Authority is not about earthly position, it is about heavenly commission. You, too, carry that mantle now. The Spirit thundered through the writings of the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. Then, this is the kind of authority that rests on you. It is not fragile. It is not partial. It is full and complete. Given by the one who cannot lie. That means the spiritual opposition you have felt rising against you in secret has already lost its power. Your endurance through testing seasons has qualified you to step into a dimension of authority where fear cannot paralyze you anymore. Imagine walking into a storm with nothing but an umbrella. To everyone else, the storm is chaos wind, rain, destruction. But under that umbrella, you remain untouched, shielded, calm. That is what spiritual authority feels like. The chaos does not vanish, but it no longer consumes you. You have become a carrier of peace in the middle of turmoil. Others will run to you, not because you are perfect, but because your authority brings calm to their storms. This authority is also creative. Your words will no longer be casual. Heaven listens when you speak, and hell trembles. Blessings you release will become real. Curses you break will lose their grip. This is why your speech must be guarded now. Authority magnifies words. You cannot afford to speak carelessly, for what you declare carries weight. Remember this: authority is not for control, but for service. You are not given power so you can boast, but so you can lift others, defend the weak, and break chains that bind. Your authority is a weapon, but it is also a shelter. It cuts down darkness and creates refuge for those who stand in your light. Like a key in a lock, your authority is opening doors. Some doors are for you, others for those connected to you. When you walk into new spaces, remember, you do not enter as an ordinary person. You enter as one commissioned, one sealed, one crowned with authority that cannot be taken away. The unveiling of this mantle is only the beginning. As you grow in it, you will learn that authority is not about shouting louder, but about believing deeper. It is the quiet confidence that when you pray, heaven hears. And when you stand, darkness flees. Authority is the proof that you are no longer merely surviving. You are reigning with Christ even now. Authority, once hidden beneath layers of fear and doubt, is now rising in you like dawn after a long night. The shadows no longer intimidate you, because you have discovered the light within. What once silenced you will now be silenced by you. Carry this mantle with humility, for it was given, not earned. And yet carry it boldly, for it is real. Heaven has entrusted you with power for a purpose greater than yourself. There is a sobering reality that comes with walking as the chosen, the moment your authority is unveiled. The opposition that was once hidden begins to show its face. What was silent in the shadows cannot remain silent when your light increases. This is why, as you rise, you begin to notice resistance, not only from circumstances, but sometimes even from people you never expected. Chosen one. God is now revealing the hidden enemies that tried to sabotage your journey. Enemies are not always those who openly declared themselves against you. Sometimes they smiled. Sometimes they pretended to support. Sometimes they even spoke words of encouragement. Yet behind the surface, their intentions were different. They were never aligned with your calling, only attached to what they could gain from you. And when they saw that you could not be stopped, their true colors began to show. Think of weeds among a field of wheat. To the untrained eye, they look alike while they grow. But when the harvest season comes, the difference becomes clear. The weeds choke, but the wheat carries life. This is the season where God is opening your eyes to see the difference. He is teaching you that not everyone who walks beside you is walking with you. The opposition was not only human, there were also unseen forces, whispers of discouragement, sudden storms of confusion, battles in your mind that seemed to appear from nowhere. These were snares designed by the enemy to trap you, to keep you doubting, to make you abandon the path just before the breakthrough. But even those forces are now being unmasked. What was hidden in the dark is being dragged into the light. The voice of God thundered in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. This is why you could not explain some of your battles. They were never about people, never about what was visible. They were spiritual. And because they were spiritual, they required spiritual endurance. The very fact that you are still here is proof that heaven has kept you, even when hell tried to bury you. Imagine walking through a battlefield covered in fog. Arrows fly, swords clash, but visibility is low. At first, every sound makes you flinch. Every shadow looks like an enemy. Then suddenly, the fog lifts. You see clearly who stands with you and who stands against you. That is what is happening now in your life. The fog is clearing. Clarity is coming. The hidden enemies are being revealed, and the allies God appointed are stepping into sight. Sometimes God allowed the hidden enemy to remain close, not to harm you, but to sharpen you. Just as resistance builds muscle, opposition built your discernment. You learned to pray deeper, to watch more carefully, to depend not on appearances, but on the Spirit's leading. What felt like betrayal has in fact become training, shaping you into someone who can no longer be deceived by smiles without sincerity. Understand this: the revealing of hidden enemies is not for revenge, but for protection. God does not show you truth so you can hate. He shows you so you can walk wisely, like a shepherd steering sheep away from wolves. He is guiding you around traps that once threatened to consume you. And as each enemy is revealed, both seen and unseen, you will find that they no longer carry power over you. Their strength was in their secrecy. The moment light exposes them, their grip breaks. Darkness has no authority once it is unmasked. Take comfort in this. Your story is not ending with betrayal, but with victory. The very forces that tried to bury you will become the evidence of God's preservation. The very snares that were meant to entangle you will become testimonies of how He rescued you. And in time, others will look to you as proof that even when enemies plot in secret, the protection of God cannot be overthrown. This is the unveiling of what was hidden, not to paralyze you with fear, but to strengthen your confidence in the one who has kept you until now. And as you move forward, you will do so with eyes sharpened, heart steady, and spirit unshaken. So walk forward without hesitation. The hidden has been revealed, the traps exposed, the disguises torn away. You are no longer moving in darkness, but in light. Every step you take now is secure. For heaven's watch surrounds you, and no secret enemy can undo what God has established. The crown has always been part of your story. Even when you walked in valleys, even when you felt stripped of everything, the promise of heaven's crown hovered above your life like a silent guarantee. Now that the fire has refined you and the enemies have been unmasked, the crown draws near, not as a distant dream, but as a reality you must claim. Crowns are never given lightly. They are reserved for those who endure. Anyone can start a race, but not everyone finishes it. You, however, have pressed forward even when your feet bled. You carried weight even when your shoulders trembled, and that endurance has prepared you for the inheritance already written with your name. Imagine a runner collapsing at the finish line. Their body is exhausted, but their hand is stretched forward, touching the mark. They do not look beautiful. In that moment, they look broken, drenched in sweat, sometimes crawling instead of sprinting. Yet in heaven's eyes, that sight is glorious. That is how you look right now, not flawless, but faithful. And faithfulness is what heaven crowns. We find in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, having stood the test, will receive the crown of life. The Lord has promised to those who love him, this is your inheritance." Not a temporary title that men can strip away, not an earthly recognition that fades with time, but a crown of life, forged by the very hands of the Lord himself. It is yours not because you are flawless, but because you endured and kept loving him through it all. The crown is not only for eternity, it also carries a present reality. When heaven crowns you, your identity shifts. You walk differently. You speak differently. Authority radiates from you. Others may not understand it, but they will sense it, and the enemy cannot touch it. For crowns are not placed by human hands, but by divine decree. Think of a hidden heir, raised in obscurity for years. No one knew their true identity. Yet the day arrives when the royal seal is placed on their head, and suddenly everything changes. They were always royal, but now the crown makes it visible. That is your story. You were chosen long before anyone recognized it. Now the recognition is unfolding. But here is the challenge. A crown can be offered, yet ignore. It can be prepared, yet left unclaimed. That is why you must choose to accept it boldly. Do not hide from what God has marked for you. Do not shrink back as if you are unworthy. If heaven says you are crowned, then walk in that truth. Your scars are not disqualifiers. They are part of the crown. The tears you shed, the prayers whispered in secret, the loneliness endured, all of it is woven into the jewel set upon your head. Each pain you carried becomes a gem. Each trial you passed becomes gold. The crown is not apart from your suffering, it is built from it. Now, let your spirit respond. In the comments, type just 3 words, "Crown is mine." Let it be a declaration, not only written on a screen, but etched into your heart. Say it because you believe that what God promised is not for someone else, but for you. When you declare it, you are not boasting. You are agreeing with heaven's decree. You are aligning yourself with the truth that you are crowned, chosen, and prepared. The crown is not in the distance, it is waiting, and it belongs to you. The crown is more than a symbol. It is a responsibility, When God places it on your head, He is saying, "Now you represent me." That means your life carries weight. Your choices echo louder. Your steps leave deeper marks. And your words carry the fragrance of eternity. It is no longer just about surviving, it is about reigning with grace. Every gem in the crown tells a story. One stone may shine with the memory of your perseverance in trial. Another may glitter with the nights you chose, prayer instead of despair. Still, another carries the light of every act of love you gave when no one was watching. Each jewel is proof. Nothing you endured was wasted. Everything has been woven into glory. So, walk with confidence, but also with humility. Do not fear the weight of the crown it was shaped for your head. Wear it boldly, not to draw attention to yourself, but to reflect the one who crowned you. There comes a moment when delay is no longer permitted, when the waiting season gives way to movement. Chosen one, that moment is now. God has not brought you this far to leave you standing at the threshold. You have been refined, separated, tested, and crowned. Now heaven speaks clearly. It is time to rise. This rising is not about striving in your own strength. It is about stepping into alignment with what has already been prepared for you. Imagine a door that has been locked for years. You pressed against it, knocked, even cried before it, but nothing moved. Then, suddenly, without your effort, the lock clicks open. All you are asked to do is walk through. That is what obedience looks like in this season, not forcing, but entering. The ancient words in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19, declare, "This day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so you and your children may live." God is placing choice before you, not as a burden, but as a gift. To obey is to choose life. To delay is to choose stagnation. This is why the call is urgent. Heaven is waiting for your yes. Not because God is powerless without it, but because He longs to partner with your will. Think of a seed placed in the soil. It has everything it needs to grow: the nutrients, the water, the sunlight. But unless it chooses to break its shell, it remains dormant. Rising is your breaking. It may feel uncomfortable, even painful. But the moment you step out, the growth begins. There is a beauty in obedience that others often miss. People may think it is restrictive, but in truth, it is liberating. Obedience is the bridge between promise and fulfillment. Without it, you remain on one side of the river, staring across at the land prepared for you. With it, you cross over and inherit what was always yours. And here, as you listen, I want to speak from my heart. These messages exist not to entertain, but to serve as that bridge of encouragement for you and for many others like you. Every time you feel strengthened through these words, it is proof that the Spirit is at work here. And if this has value to you, then consider how you might help keep this flow alive. Think of it like a lamp burning in a dark house. The flame flickers and warms everyone inside. But oil must be added, or the flame dies. Every like, every share, every subscription is a drop of oil that keeps the lamp shining. And if you feel stirred to give, to donate, see it not as loss, but as adding fuel to a fire that warms many souls who still sit in the cold. No one is compelled. God himself never forces love. He invites it. In the same way, giving is never demanded. It is offered as a free act of worship and gratitude. When you give, you are not just supporting content, you are joining in lighting a fire that others may gather around. Picture a field where rain begins to fall. One drop seems small, 2 drops barely noticed. But as each drop falls, the soil softens, seeds awaken, and soon a harvest rises. That is what happens when you support in whatever way you feel led. Your single act may feel small, but together they become a rain that awakens life. Whether you respond by sharing with a friend, subscribing to stay connected, or sowing a seed through giving, let it be an act that flows from joy. Acts done in freedom carry power. Acts done with gratitude multiply in impact. This is how God works. He takes what we release in love and transforms it into blessings that ripple far beyond what we can see. So rise, chosen one. Rise in obedience. Rise in faith. Rise in generosity of spirit. Heaven is opening before you, and all that is asked of you is to take the step. You are not walking alone. Every yes you whisper echoes in eternity, and every act of love you release joins heaven's symphony of glory. The command has been given. The door stands open. The only question is, will you walk through? So let your heart decide. Do not see it as pressure, but as invitation. You have been tested and found faithful. Now each step you take, whether in obedience or in giving, becomes a living testimony. The rising has already begun, and heaven is watching your yes unfold. When the chosen step into their appointed moment, they are never left to walk alone. There is a dimension of help that comes, not from men, but from heaven's army, invisible to human eyes, yet mighty in presence. Angels are released on your behalf. They are not symbols or fantasies, they are servants of the Most High, sent to minister to those who will inherit salvation. Chosen one, you are not walking by yourself. From the earliest pages of Scripture, angels have always appeared at turning points. When Hagar wept in the wilderness, an angel came with comfort and provision. When Daniel prayed in Babylon, an angel brought the answer, delayed by spiritual resistance. When Jesus wrestled in Gethsemane, angels came to strengthen him for what lay ahead. In the same way, your season of struggle has attracted angelic reinforcement. Imagine a weary traveler stumbling on a long road, knees scraped, clothes torn, thirst gnawing at their body. Just as they collapse, a hand, unseen by others, lifts them, places water in their mouth, and whispers, "Keep walking." That is what angelic assistance feels like: silent, steady, and often unnoticed until later, when you realize, I should have fallen, but somehow I kept standing. And the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11, reminds us with certainty, "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." And this is not a poetic exaggeration. It is a declaration of reality. Angelsguard, guide, and protect in ways beyond your comprehension. Some dangers you recognized and barely escaped, others you never even saw, because angelic hands had already removed them from your path. You do not yet know how many battles were won around you while you slept, how many traps were dismantled before you ever stepped near them. There are moments in your life when strength seemed to appear from nowhere. You woke up with peace after a night of turmoil. You found sudden courage when fear tried to grip your heart. These were not coincidences. They were moments when heaven's messengers were near, strengthening you with what you could not generate on your own. Think of a soldier standing on a battlefield. He feels alone, surrounded by enemies. But suddenly, reinforcements arrive, an entire army charging forward to fight alongside him. His courage multiplies. His hope rises. His battle no longer feels impossible. That is the truth of angelic assistance in your life. Though unseen, you have never fought alone. Sometimes, the presence of angels is felt in quiet impressions, a sudden urge to change direction, a delay that saves you from unseen danger, a conversation that arrives at the perfect time. Angels operate not always through spectacle, but through subtle alignments that keep you in step with God's will. Their mission is not to be noticed, but to ensure your destiny unfolds unhindered. And yet, do not mistake their presence as a replacement for God's Spirit. Angels are servants, but the Spirit is your comforter. Angels execute orders, but the Spirit abides within. They are companions on the journey, carrying out heaven's will so that you may walk in obedience without being crushed by opposition. The reality of angelic help also carries responsibility. It reminds you that your life is watched closely, not only by men and demons, but by heaven's army. The way you walk, the way you speak, the way you respond to trials, it matters. For you are a carrier of divine assignments, and angels move in rhythm with your obedience. Imagine a general sending soldiers to guard a precious treasure. The soldiers do not choose the treasure, they are commanded to protect it. That treasure is you. The command has gone out. Guard them in all their ways. And the soldiers of heaven obey without hesitation. You are worth guarding, because you are marked by God's promise. As you move forward, be mindful of this unseen companionship. When you feel isolated, remember the hills are filled with horses and chariots of fire. Just as Elisha's servant once saw. When you feel weak, remember there are ministering spirits surrounding you, carrying strength into your soul. When you feel threatened, remember their swords are drawn on your behalf. Your life is not ordinary. That is why angelic assistance has been dispatched. The greater your calling, the greater the protection assigned to you. You are watched, guarded, guided, and nothing in earth or hell can bypass the orders heaven has given concerning your life. So, walk with assurance, not arrogance, knowing that though you may not see them, you are never alone. The very air around you carries the presence of heaven's army, ensuring you reach the destiny God has written for you. There are moments in life when God's word comes to you with such clarity that doubt no longer has room to speak. These are not ordinary moments, they are divine confirmations. They arrive to silence your fears, to reassure your heart, and to stamp heaven's seal on what He has already promised. Chosen one, this is your hour of confirmation. You have walked through separation, endured refining fire, stood firm under hidden opposition, and now carry the crown of identity. But even with all this, God knows your heart still longs for reassurance. He knows the human mind wrestles with what if. That is why He sends confirmation, not to create faith because faith is already in you, but to strengthen faith so it stands immovable. Think of a letter sealed with wax. The words inside are true whether or not the seal exists, yet the seal proves the letter's authenticity, leaving no doubt of its origin. Confirmation is that seal. God's promises to you were already real, but his confirmations come as wax pressed with the mark of his authority, leaving you secure in knowing this came from him. At times, confirmation comes in whispers, a scripture leaping alive when you read it, a conversation that unexpectedly answers your question, a dream that carries peace into your waking hours. At other times, confirmation comes in ways you cannot ignore. Opportunities aligning without explanation. A door opening at the exact moment you were about to give up. These are not coincidences, they are heaven's signatures. The book of Hebrews, chapter 6, verse 17, reveals this truth with power, because God wanted to make the unchanging nature of his purpose very clear to the heirs of what was promised. He confirmed it with an oath. 1. Do you understand? God himself chose to confirm his word with an oath, not because he needed to, but because he wanted to make it very clear to you. He knows how fragile the human heart can be, how the enemy whispers lies, how doubts creep in during silence. So he stamps your journey with evidence that cannot be denied. Imagine a sailor steering through stormy seas. The waves crash. The winds howl. The night sky hides the stars. But suddenly, the lighthouse beam appears, cutting through the dark. The sailor's circumstances have not changed. The storm is still raging, but the confirmation of the lighthouse's light fills him with hope. I am still on the right course. That is what God's confirmation does. It does not always change the storm, but it changes your confidence within it. Perhaps you have felt small nudges, numbers aligning, words repeated, moments too precise to dismiss. You wondered, is this really God, or just my imagination? Let this be the clarity you need when a sign brings peace, when it aligns with Scripture, when it strengthens your faith instead of feeding fear. It is from Him. This is why, right now, I invite you into a prophetic act. In the comments, type the number 333. Why 333? Because it is a triple witness of divine completeness, of confirmation through Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and of Heaven's Word established beyond doubt. When you write 333, you are not summoning a miracle. You are agreeing with the truth that God Himself has stamped His promises with clarity. Do not treat it as superstition. See it for what it is, a way to declare with your hands what your heart already knows. You are saying, I believe the seal is real. I believe my steps are confirmed. I believe heaven has spoken. No, think of an artist signing their name on a painting. The art existed before the signature, but the signature confirms ownership. When you declare 333, it is like acknowledging God's signature on the canvas of your life. The colors, the shapes, the strokes, all of it has been intentional, and the signature proves you belong to Him. Chosen one. This is not just about comfort. It is about direction. Confirmation is heaven's way of telling you, keep moving. You are in alignment. Do not turn back now. Every confirmation you receive is a hand on your back, gently pushing you forward toward the fulfillment of promises already waiting. So watch closely. The next word, the next moment, The next alignment may be the very confirmation you prayed for. Do not dismiss it. Do not minimize it. Let your heart rejoice. For heaven is taking the time to reassure you that you are not mistaken. The seal has been pressed. The oath has been given. The confirmation has arrived. You are marked, affirmed, and strengthened. Nothing can shake what God Himself has confirmed. Every victory carries with it a new battlefield. The higher you climb, the more visible you become, and visibility attracts warfare. Chosen one, what you are stepping into now is not an easier path, but a more purposeful one. The battles will not cease, they will intensify, but so will your strength, so will your wisdom, and so will your authority. This is the battlefield of now. It is not the wilderness of waiting, nor the fire of refining, nor the loneliness of separation. It is the place where you stand, crowned and commissioned, and the enemy recognizes what you carry. Do not be surprised when resistance increases. Opposition is not evidence of failure, it is confirmation of progress. Imagine a torch lifted high on a hill. While it was hidden in the valley, the darkness did not notice it, but once lifted, every eye turns toward it. Some are drawn by its light, others are angered by it, but none can ignore it. That torch is you. Your rising cannot be hidden, and because it cannot be hidden, it cannot be without resistance. The Apostle Paul wrote to the Corinthians of this very reality, reminding them that battles are part of the chosen life. He said in his second letter, chapter 10, verse 4, "The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds." End 1. This is the assurance you carry. The battlefield of now is real, but so are your weapons. Prayer is not a ritual, it is a weapon that tears down what cannot be seen. Praise is not just a song, it is a sword that cuts chains in the unseen realm. The word is not just ink on paper, it is living fire that consumes lies and dismantles deception. Your battles may come in many forms. Sometimes they appear as sudden discouragement, voices in your mind telling you to give up. Sometimes they appear as opposition in relationships, misunderstandings, or rejection. Sometimes they appear as delays in the very promises you thought were already yours. Do not misinterpret these. They are not signs that you are failing. They are the evidence that you are dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Think of a chessboard. The closer a piece gets to the opposite side, the more fiercely the opponent defends. Pawns may move freely at the start, but as one nears promotion, every strategy is designed to block it. You are that piece nearing transformation, and the enemy recognizes your potential. That is why the moves against you feel sharper now. But remember, the Grand Master of Heaven is guiding every step, and his strategy cannot be outwitted. You must also understand that this battlefield is not just external, it is internal. The war in your thoughts, the battle between faith and doubt, the struggle between peace and anxiety, these are just as real as any external opposition. And yet, these are the very places where your greatest victories will be won. Do not despise the struggle within you. Every time you choose faith over fear, you win ground. Every time you speak life instead of death, you advance. Every time you resist temptation, you build walls of strength around your soul. These are victories the world cannot measure, but heaven celebrates loudly. The battlefield of now is where you must learn endurance. There will be days when you feel weary, when the fight seems endless, but it is in those moments that you will discover a power, not your own, rising within you. That power is the Spirit of God, the one who equips you with armor no enemy can penetrate. Think of a blacksmith forging armor. Each piece is beaten into shape with fire and hammer until it becomes impenetrable. That is what has been happening in your life. The seasons you thought would destroy you have been crafting your armor. Now, as you step into new battles, you are not vulnerable. You are covered, strengthened, prepared. And as you fight, remember this: you are not fighting for victory, you are fighting from victory. The cross has already secured the ultimate win. The enemy's strategy is not to defeat you, but to distract you from that truth. Stay steady. Lift your eyes. Keep your hands to the plow and your heart to the throne. This battlefield will not consume you. It will crown you again and again with deeper strength, richer faith, and unshakable trust. What looks like warfare is actually training for glory. And every battle you endure in this season will echo as testimony in the seasons to come. There is a mantle that heaven bestows, which cannot be mistaken for anything else. It is not the mantle of talent, nor of influence, nor of earthly success. It is the mantle of glory. This mantle does not rest on everyone. It rests only on those who have walked through the wilderness, endured the refining fire, embraced separation, and stood unshaken in the battlefield of now. Chosen one. This mantle is upon you. The mantle of glory is not about shining for your own sake. It is about reflecting the light of the one who crowned you. Just as the moon carries no light of its own but reflects the brilliance of the sun, so too your life becomes a mirror of divine glory. Those who look at you may not understand what they see, but they will sense something undeniable. The presence of God rests upon you. Think of Moses, who descended from Mount Sinai after speaking with God. His face shone so brightly that the people were afraid to come near him, and he had to veil it. That was the mantle of glory. It was not his eloquence, not his strength, not his leadership. It was the residue of God's presence upon him. In the same way, your life now carries traces of the mountain moments you endured in secret. We are reminded in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 18, and we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. And this verse reveals the mystery. Glory is not static. It increases. The more you look upon him, the more you reflect him. The more you surrender, the more his brilliance radiates through you. This is why your trials were never wasted. They cleared away the layers that once dulled your shine, leaving you ready to carry glory without distortion. Imagine a stained glass window. From one side, it looks ordinary, dull, and even broken. But when light shines through, the colors burst alive, painting beauty that cannot be ignored. That is you. Without God's light, you may seem ordinary, but when his glory shines through your life, you become a vessel of breathtaking reflection, illuminating others who sit in shadows. The mantle of glory changes how you walk. It teaches you humility, for you know the light is not your own. It teaches you courage, for you realize you carry something greater than fear. And it teaches you responsibility, For glory is not given to be hidden, but to be displayed as testimony of God's goodness. This mantle also carries weight. Glory is not light like mist, it is heavy like gold. Those who wear it know both its beauty and its burden. For the more glory rests on you, the more carefully you must walk. Words cannot be careless. Actions cannot be empty. Choices cannot be trivial. The mantle of glory makes your life a message others will read, whether you speak or not. Consider the image of a crown jeweler polishing precious stones. He rubs, grinds, and wipes until the gem gleams in perfection. That process is what your trials have been. Each hardship polished you, removing dullness, revealing brilliance. Now, the mantle of glory rests on you as a finished jewel in the hand of the King. Some will see the glory on you and be drawn closer. Others will see it and withdraw. For light exposes what they would rather keep hidden. Do not be discouraged by either response. Glory is not meant to please everyone. It is meant to glorify the one who gave it. And remember, glory is not a destination, it is a transformation. You are being changed day by day, glory by glory, into His likeness. The mantle you wear now is only the beginning of greater radiance to come. Chosen one, lift your head. The mantle upon you is proof that the wilderness, the fire, and the battlefield were never for nothing. They were the preparation for this very weight, this very radiance. You are clothed in something eternal, something unshakable, something unmistakable. Walk in it with reverence, and let the world see not you, but Him, reflected in you. The mantle upon you is not fragile. It will not fade with time. It is eternal because its source is eternal. Every step you take, every word you speak, carries a fragrance of heaven that lingers even after you have passed by. So wear it boldly, yet humbly. Let your life become a living testimony, a moving sanctuary where others encounter the presence of God simply by being near you. Every season of glory carries with it a sober warning. To be chosen does not mean you are beyond responsibility. In fact, the higher you rise, the greater the responsibility you carry. And with this comes a truth few dare to acknowledge. At the very moment of breakthrough, the temptation to fall back is strongest. Chosen one, this is your final warning. You have passed through wilderness, endured fire, been crowned with authority, and clothed with glory. But now heaven whispers, do not take this lightly. The same way a climber near the summit faces the fiercest winds, so too those closest to destiny face the strongest tests. One careless step, one moment of rebellion, one decision to compromise, and the crown can slip. The ancient words in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 36, remind us, you need to persevere, so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. Perseverance is not just about enduring trials. It is about guarding victory. A crown can be placed, but it must also be kept. This is why the Spirit warns you, stay awake. Do not grow careless. Do not assume that because you have come this far, nothing can be lost. Think of a lamp filled with oil. If the flame is not tended, it flickers and dies. Glory is not self-sustaining. It must be nourished by devotion, prayer, humility, and obedience. To stop feeding the flame is to invite darkness back into a space that was once filled with light. That is why you must remain vigilant. This is not meant to paralyze you with fear, but to awaken you to responsibility. God trusts you with a crown, but He will not force you to keep it. The choice remains yours. Will you guard what has been entrusted to you? Or will you drift until it slips unnoticed? And here, let me speak plainly. This space where you are fed with words of life is also a flame. It burns because oil is continually poured in. If these words have stirred your soul, then I invite you not as pressure, not as demand, but as invitation to help keep this flame burning. Think of a lighthouse on a rocky shore. Ships lost in the night depend on its beam to find safety. The light shines not because of itself, but because keepers faithfully tend it. Every like, every share, every subscription is a hand adding oil to that flame, keeping the beam alive for the next ship drifting in darkness. And if your heart feels stirred to go deeper, then let your act of giving your donation be like placing another stone in the foundation of a cathedral. One stone may seem small, but together they form a sanctuary that outlives the builders, echoing with hymns long after the first voices fall silent. That is what your support creates, a space where heaven's voice continues to resound for generations. And if you wish to leave your mark, let it be in words. Think of it like carving your initials on the trunk of a great tree. Long after the seasons pass, the mark remains. When you comment, you are not just typing letters, you are inscribing your agreement into the story God is writing through this moment. This is not transaction, it is transformation. Every action you take, sharing, subscribing, commenting, giving, becomes part of a chain that reaches souls you will never meet. Someone on the edge of despair may find light because you chose to tend the flame. Someone wandering in silence may discover God's whisper because you chose to place a stone. But remember, the invitation is never a condition. Just as God offers salvation freely, so too this call is offered freely. Respond only if your spirit stirs. Let your act flow from joy, not from burden. For what is done in joy becomes fragrance to heaven, and what is done in freedom carries eternal weight. Chosen one, take this warning seriously, but also receive it with hope. The crown is on your head, the mantle rests on your shoulders, and heaven is watching with anticipation. Guard what you have received. Keep the flame alive. Do not let rebellion, pride, or apathy rob you of what cost so much to carry. And if your heart feels moved, let your hands join in tending this light. Like, share, subscribe, comment, donate. Not because you must, but because you may. Not because you are forced, but because you are free. Let your response become part of the testimony of this flame, burning brighter, because of those who chose to keep it alive. The warning has been spoken. The crown must be guarded, and the choice remains with you. Every crown placed on the chosen is more than a symbol for this life. It is a shadow of something greater, waiting beyond. Chosen one, while you stand in battles and walk in obedience, now, do not forget that eternity stretches before you. This life, with all its trials, tears, and triumphs, is only the beginning of your story. What awaits is the eternal reward, a glory so vast that language trembles to describe it. Your struggles here are temporary, but the reward is everlasting. The loneliness you endured will not follow you beyond the veil. The tears that fell on your pillow will not be remembered in sorrow, for Scripture promises they will be wiped away by God Himself. Every prayer whispered in the night, every sacrifice made when no one saw, every act of obedience carried out in silence, none of it is lost. All of it is being stored in the treasury of heaven, awaiting the day of unveiling. The Apostle John wrote in the book of Revelation, chapter 22, verse 12, "Look, I am coming soon. My reward is with me, and I will give to each person according to what they have done." This is not just encouragement, it is promise. The one who does not lie declares that reward is certain. The world may forget, people may overlook, but heaven records every detail, even the smallest act of kindness, the gentlest prayer. The unseen perseverance will echo into eternity as jewels in your eternal inheritance. Imagine a worker laboring in a field, day after day. They dig, plant, and water, often under the burning sun, often without applause. But the harvest does not forget the laborer. When the season comes, the field bursts alive, and the worker rejoices in fruit, multiplied beyond measure. That is your eternal story. Your labor in this life will yield a harvest you cannot yet imagine, one that will not wither, one that no thief can steal. The eternal reward is more than treasures of gold or crowns of jewels. It is the fullness of His presence here on earth. You taste glimpses of His glory moments in prayer, flashes in worship, quiet whispers in silence. But there, it will not be glimpses. It will be fullness. You will see Him as He is, and in that moment, every question, every confusion, every ache of your heart will dissolve in the radiance of His face. Think of a traveler returning home after a long, exhausting journey. Dust clings to their clothes. Blisters mark their feet. Hunger gnaws their stomach. But as they step through the door, they are embraced, washed, fed, and rested. The pain of the road becomes a faint memory compared to the joy of being home. That is eternity for you. The road here has been rough, but home is waiting, and the embrace of the Father will erase the sting of every mile. Your eternal reward is also relational. You will be reunited with those who ran before you, those who endured their own trials, those who carried the torch of faith through ages past. You will stand beside Abraham, Moses, David, Esther, Paul, Mary, and countless others, not as strangers, but as family, for all of you bear the same mark, chosen, tested, faithful, and together you will worship in a chorus that never ends. But above all, the eternal reward is Him, not the streets of gold, not the gates of pearl, not even the crowns themselves, though they will be glorious. The true reward is God Himself, to see His face, to hear His voice, to dwell with Him forever. Everything else pales in comparison. Chosen one, let this truth strengthen you. When you feel weary, lift your eyes to the horizon of eternity. When battles rage, remember they are temporary. When sacrifices sting, remember the crown waiting for you will outshine every cost. The eternal reward is sure. It cannot be lost unless you walk away. And because you have endured, because you continue to stand, because you continue to believe. It is yours. So walk with confidence. Your present is filled with trials. Yes, but your future is filled with glory. And that glory will never fade. The journey here may feel long, but compared to eternity, it is only a breath. Every scar you carry will one day shine as evidence of your perseverance, not as reminders of pain. What felt like loss will be revealed as gain. So let your heart rest in this truth. Heaven is not just a promise, it is a certainty. The eternal reward is waiting, already secured, already prepared, already radiant with your name engraved upon it. There comes a time when the pieces of the story are no longer scattered, but gathered into one vision, chosen one. This is that time. All the silence, the fire, the hidden battles, the authority, the crown, the mantle, the battlefield, and the promises. Each moment was never random. They were fragments of a larger revelation now being unveiled in fullness. Heaven is telling you everything. The questions you once carried. Why was I set apart? Why did the road feel longer for me? Why did I endure storms others never faced? Are answered here. You were not overlooked. You were not punished. You were not abandoned. You were chosen. And being chosen meant your path could never mirror the ordinary. From the beginning, God carved your story differently. Others could take shortcuts. You could not. Others could settle for less. You could not. Others could wander freely. You were guided, sometimes painfully, into precise steps. For the destiny you were marked with demanded a preparation no one else would understand. It is like the making of a vessel. Clay spun on the wheel looks chaotic at first, spinning, pressed, reshaped. To the clay, it feels like breaking, but to the potter, it is design. You were clay on the wheel, feeling the pressure, not seeing the purpose. Now, as the potter lifts his hands, the vessel stands finished, ready for the glory it was always meant to carry. The prophet Habakkuk once wrote, in chapter 2, verse 3, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." This is the essence of your journey. The delays were never denials. The silence was never absence. Every step, though it lingered, was aligned with an appointed time. And now, that time has come. Look back at your deserts. They taught you dependence. Look back at your fires. They purified your heart. Look back at your separations. They sharpened your discernment. Look back at your enemies. They trained your authority. Look back at your scars. They became jewels in your crown. Every fragment of pain has been woven into purpose. And here lies the greatest revelation. It was never just about you. Your endurance was not only for your story, but for those who will look at your life and find courage. You are a signpost, a living testimony that chosen ones are real, that God's promises hold, that endurance is never wasted. Imagine a tapestry being woven. From the underside, it looks messy, threads crossing, knots forming, colors tangled. But when turned over, the picture is breathtaking. That is your life. You saw the underside: confusion, pain, waiting. Heaven saw the upper side: beauty, alignment, purpose. And now, slowly, heaven turns the tapestry to reveal the image you were always becoming. Chosen one. Hear this clearly. The fullness has been revealed. You now know why you were different, why you were tested, why you were pressed harder than others. It was to prepare you to carry what others could not. You are not merely surviving this season, you are stepping into your legacy. Your legacy is not just words you speak, but lives you touch. Every encouragement you offer, every prayer you release, every stand you take becomes part of the inheritance you leave behind. Others may forget your name, but they will never forget the light you carried. That light will outlast you, echoing long after your earthly journey is done. So stand tall, not in pride, but in holy confidence. Your story is proof that the chosen cannot be broken, only refined. Your life is evidence that God finishes what He begins, and your legacy will testify that obedience is never wasted. The revelation is complete. The test has been passed. The fullness is revealed. And now, heaven calls you not only chosen, but faithful, crowned, and ready. The revelation you carry now is not meant to remain locked inside you. It is a living flame, and flames exist to spread. The same God who whispered to you in silence will use you as His voice in someone else's storm. Do not minimize what you have walked through. The pain, the tests, the delays, these are the very credentials that qualify you to strengthen others. Your scars are sermons. Your victories are maps. Your endurance is a lantern for those still walking in the dark. So, walk forward with assurance. You are chosen not only for survival, but for impact. And though your journey continues, the fullness of why you were called has been revealed. You are proof of God's faithfulness written in living form. You have reached the end of this journey, but in truth, this is only the beginning of yours. Every word you have heard, every image that has unfolded, was never about chance. It was heaven's way of reminding you, you are chosen, you are tested, and you are ready. What lies ahead is not random wandering, it is destiny written before the foundations of the earth. And now, I ask you to let this message live beyond just these moments. When you like, it is like placing a candle in a window for someone else, wandering in the night. They see the glow and know they are not alone. When you share, it is like passing bread to the hungry. What fed you will feed another soul. When you subscribe, it is like building a bridge. You ensure that each step forward remains connected, so you never walk out of alignment with the words appointed for you. And if you feel stirred to give, let it be from the heart. Picture it as pouring oil into a lighthouse lamp. One drop may seem small, but drop by drop, the flame grows steady, strong, unyielding. Ships lost in stormy seas will see its glow and find their way home. That is what your donation does not demanded. Never forced, but freely offered so that light keeps burning for those still in darkness. And finally, when you comment, think of it as etching your voice into stone. Seasons may change, but the mark of your agreement remains, telling heaven and earth, I was here, I believed, I received. This is not pressure, it is invitation. The choice remains in your hands, and whatever you choose, know this, your story has meaning, your calling has weight, and your crown has already been prepared.